With the Photographer by Stephen Leacock. Multiple choice questions. What is the first impression of the photographer as described by the narrator? Enthusiastic, carefree, uninterested, joyful, uninterested. How does the narrator describe the magazines he reads while waiting? Engaging and informative, tedious and boring, outdated, hilarious, outdated. Why does the narrator believe he has disturbed the photographer? He has an unusual face. The photographer was busy. The narrator interrupted a session. The photographer is overly sensitive. He has an unusual face. What does the photographer do after the first look at the narrator's face? Takes the photograph immediately. Adjusts the lighting in the studio. Shakes his head in approval. Leaves the room in frustration. Adjusts the lighting in the studio. How does the narrator react when the photographer twists his head? Laughs at the absurdity. Fears the photographer will kiss him. Complains about the discomfort. Tries to resist the movement. Fears the photographer will kiss him. What does the photographer criticize about the narrator's face during the session? The nose, the eyes, the hair, the entire head, the entire head. How does the narrator describe his own voice when confronting the photographer about his face? Soft and timid, steady but emotional, angry and loud, sarcastic and biting, steady but emotional. When the narrator declares, "This face is my face," what does he express? Anger at the photographer. Ownership and acceptance of his appearance. Disgust at his own reflection. Confusion about the process. Ownership and acceptance of his appearance. What happens right before the photograph is taken? The narrator shifts his position. The photographer instructs the narrator to smile. The narrator attempts to leave. The photographer adjusts the camera. The narrator attempts to leave. How does the photographer describe the photograph after it's taken? Lifelike and perfect. Caught in a moment of animation. A reflection of reality. Completely unusable. Caught in a moment of animation. When the narrator sees the proof on Saturday, how does he initially react? He is pleased with the result. He refuses to believe it's him. He remains silent. He is overwhelmed with emotion. He refuses to believe it's him. What does the photographer admit to doing to the eyes in the photograph? Enhancing them with extra light. Leaving them untouched. Retouching them. Darkening them for effect. Retouching them. Which process does the photographer claim to have used to change the narrator's eyebrows? The Delpide process. The sulfide process. The oxide process. The glaze process. The Delpide process. Why does the photographer adjust the narrator's mouth? It was too wide for the frame. The narrator couldn't smile correctly. It was too low for the photograph. It was interfering with the lighting. It was too low for the photograph. What is the only feature the narrator acknowledges as resembling him in the photograph? The eyes, the ears, the nose, the mouth. The ears. What does the photographer propose doing with the narrator's ears in the print? Enlarging them, retouching them, removing them, enhancing them, removing them. How does the narrator feel about the final photograph? Proud of how it turned out. Disgusted by how altered it is. Indifferent to the changes. Grateful for the improvements. Disgusted by how altered it is. What does the narrator sarcastically accuse the photographer of valuing? Artistic integrity. A perfect likeness. Technical precision. A worthless bauble. A worthless bauble. What is the photographer's final action before the narrator leaves in tears? Apologizes for the photograph. Adjusts the lighting one last time. Smiles with satisfaction. Suggests further alterations. Smiles with satisfaction. What is the overall tone of the narrator's experience at the photographer's studio? Uplifting and inspirational. Humorous but bitter. Dark and foreboding. Neutral and indifferent. Humorous but bitter.